Hello everyone. There has been a lot of conversation online around the disappearance of Caleb Harris, which I will say is very strange. However, just a couple months before Caleb went missing, on the other side of Texas, another young man would also disappear. And no one's really been talking about this young man's disappearance, which is equally as mysterious and strange. So today we're going to change that. Around 3 a.m. on January 21st, 29-year-old Harley Morris would last be seen leaving the 50 Grand Club, which is a bar in the 2100 block of North Grand Avenue in Tyler, Texas, a city in East Texas with a population of just over 100,000 people that's 2 hours southeast of Dallas. Now, the 50 Grand Club is something that I had to do a lot of digging and research into because just from a quick Google search of this club bar, there's not really that much information on it, which is weird for an established business, you'd think. Well, it turns out that the 50 Grand Club is a Latin lounge sharing a building with a restaurant called Joey's Tacos that's just south of Texas College, making it a very college-heavy area. However, locals in the area had a lot to say about this club, bar, lounge place, saying, and I quote, "From my understanding, it's a barely legal after-hours bar that operates as an event venue. Tyler has archaic blue laws and bars close down earlier than state laws allow. So normal places close at 1 a.m. on Saturday nights. This place stays open late as a kind of private club for late-nighters. I'm not sure it has regular signage either. It's a bit sketch, some would say." End quote. I also found articles of a shooting that happened at the club back in 2021 where a man was shot in the leg, which is all very concerning when this was the last place that Harley was last known to be. But let's talk about what happened earlier in the night before Harley ended up at this sketchy club lounge place. Earlier in the day, Harley would end up being dropped off at Prime 102 Steakhouse, which is where Harley worked. And he was dropped off at his work by his father, Bill. Now, according to Bill, he says that Harley's phone was low on battery when he dropped him off, so Harley ended up giving him his cell phone, asking him to go home and charge it for him, meaning that Harley didn't have his cell phone on him all night when he was at work, and then when he went out that night after work. And it also means he didn't have his cell phone on him when he went missing. So that really hinders the investigation of what police can track and where Harley may have been. You know, pinging someone's cell phone is a huge thing that we can do nowadays. However, Harley didn't have his phone on him. After work, Harley and some of his friends decided to go to a place called Sports Zone Bar to have some drinks, which is only a 3-minute walk from his work. But for whatever reason, after hanging out at the sports bar, they all decided to go to 50 Grand Club. And from what it seems like, they ended up driving to that club. On top of that, this area where Harley would go missing from, he wasn't familiar with, and he allegedly also had never gone to this lounge before. His mother, Wendy, saying, and I quote, "He'd never been to the club before. His friends drove him there, so he was probably not paying attention to which way they were going in. So we feel like he's gotten extremely lost, and we pray to God that's what's happened right now." End quote. Now, unfortunately, it is now April. Harley is still missing. So the chances of him having just gotten lost and them finding him, a few hours later, the next day, isn't really on the table anymore, it feels like. That statement was made very early on in his disappearance, and now that about 3 months has passed nearly, we have to start looking into different possibilities of what may have happened to him. But we don't have absolutely nothing, which is great considering he didn't have his cell phone on him. Around 3:09 a.m., Harley would end up being captured on surveillance footage from the establishment, and he is seen leaving the front door of the lounge, walking across the parking lot of this taco place lounge restaurant. He's somewhat stumbling in this footage. He's then seen motioning to a truck, and then he continues to walk north on North Grand Avenue, which, if he followed that road north, would lead him to Texas College. After this, there's talk that a Ring doorbell camera ended up capturing him somewhere. However, I have not been able to find that video. So if you know where that footage is or have that footage, please let me know down below because I'm extremely interested in it. And I think it's really important to know where this Ring doorbell actually was as well and how far away from the lounge he was captured. But at this moment, I can't find that information. On top of that, there is information as well that Harley did interact with a few unknown individuals while he was walking, and he seemed to kind of be lost. He was asking for directions, and he seemingly was trying to get home. And from what I also seen, he didn't live in the area, so it was going to be a far walk for him to get back home. However, when Harley wouldn't show back up home in the morning, he wouldn't respond to any of his family or friends. I mean, he also didn't have his cell phone, so that's an issue. But when he also failed to show up to work the next day, that's when alarm bells started to sound because that was completely unlike Harley. He wouldn't miss work, he wouldn't drop off the face of the earth and stop talking to his friends and family, and so family members ended up reporting him missing. So let's talk about Harley for a bit. Harley is described as an avid fisher who loved playing video games, and he grew up in South Florida. It's also stated by family that Harley wasn't into drugs.
We spoke to Bill Morris today about his son following in his footsteps.
He's turned out to be
Pretty good chef himself. Oh, I broke my leg at Breakers as the chef there. He just stepped in and took over like it was his own.
Bill and Harley also shared the love of fishing.
And growing up, he learned fishing quite quick. Became his favorite pastime, became his life while we was down in South Florida.
He has a heart bigger than Texas. He'd be always willing to give his shirt off his back, even if it meant that he would go without. He's always willing to help others. He loved life and people.
Now, there's also been a lot of conversation online from people who knew Harley, who have been talking in forums and on Facebook pages about Harley and who he is. There's been a lot of talk online of him having a girlfriend, and I've seen it mentioned by family as well that he has a girlfriend, and that apparently the girlfriend wasn't with him that night. Now, a woman has also come forward online claiming that she is his girlfriend's sister. And according to this alleged sister, Harley's girlfriend had no contact with her family for several years due to severe drug problems and mental health issues. Another person online has also claimed to be an online gaming buddy of Harley's. This person, however, also agrees with the family and claims that Harley wasn't into doing any, hard drugs. He had never heard Harley talk or even doing hard drugs, maybe over, webcam or video game headset while they were playing games. He does claim that Harley smoked marijuana now and again, which nowadays, who really doesn't? It's a very common thing, especially for 20-year-olds. So in my opinion, that's not a big red flag. But this video game friend also claims that he'd often hear Harley's girlfriend in the background of the video game headset. He possibly may have talked to her as well and interacted with her somewhat over the headset, and claims that he never heard anything out of the ordinary. He never heard fighting between them or arguing or anything like that. So Harley just seemed overall like a normal guy. He seemed to have somewhat stable relationship. He smoked a little weed, but that's about it. He seemed like a normal 20-year-old, young man, which I think that kind of correlates a lot with the Caleb Harris case, because that's some of the information we're hearing about Caleb as well. He was a typical college student. He loved to go fishing, just like Harley did. He smoked a little weed now and again. But other than that, just normal average guy, which is very concerning when someone like that, who doesn't seem to live a high-risk lifestyle, mysteriously vanishes. All around, Harley seems to be described as very loved and cared about by his family, and he seemed to be described as a great guy. His family and friends also held a huge vigil at the Glass Recreation Center in Tyler, hoping he'd be found.
We know he works at Prime 102, and he'd gone to the 50 Grand Club on the 2100 block of North Grand Avenue with some friends. We know he left the 50 Grand Club, and that's the last place anybody saw him. I don't know if he had anything to drink there at the club, but when he was leaving the club, the video shows him that it looked like he was stumbling a little.
In the immediate time after Harley's disappearance, Texas EquiSearch came out. They searched the areas around where he disappeared. They used horses to search in the North Tyler area, while they also deployed thermal drones and dogs as well, but not one piece of evidence has been found, and as if he just vanished off the face of the earth after walking off that surveillance footage. Harley's family has been aiding in searches as well, trying to find any way that they can get answers. His mother, Wendy, also lives in South Florida still, and she drove to Texas trying to help find her son as well.
One of the days I was looking for Harley along the Black Creek over there, there was a kid fishing, and I asked him if he'd seen Harley, and he'd been there all week. He said he hadn't seen anything. But I said, well, in Florida we say tight lines and bent rods, and about that time his line bent, and he pulled up a fish, and he's like, you brought me luck. So I'm hoping that we'll get Harley's luck of fishing, finding him.
Now, there's been a lot of speculation in this case, as we see in many cases, and a lot of people have been questioning this vehicle that's in the surveillance footage that Harley waves at. However, it has come out and been confirmed by family and friends on their Facebook page that it was actually Harley's friends that were in that vehicle, and that seems to be why he is, motioning towards them. It's also said that the friend in that vehicle was questioned by Tyler police, and that he is, and I quote, said to be a solid dude. End quote. Hindsight is 2020, and this friend has also said that he wishes that he had offered Harley a ride. However, it seems like Harley didn't ask for a ride or wasn't interested in a ride, and so I guess the ride just didn't happen. But there's hardly any information or any evidence to where Harley may be or what happened to him. Again, it's if he had just vanished. Police are asking for anyone that lives in the immediate area or even farther around where Harley ended up disappearing from and in Tyler in general to submit any video surveillance footage you may have, whether that be Ring doorbell cameras, if you have any video cameras on your cars or your vehicles, if you were driving in the area, or if you own any businesses as well in Tyler and have any video surveillance that you could submit. It seems like a lot of people have been cooperating with the investigation and giving out this footage, which is how they ended up finding the Ring doorbell camera footage. However, there always could be someone else out there who may have something. I know it's going on 3 months nearly now, so people who do have footage out there, it may have been overwritten by now, but it's still worth saying and still worth putting out there. If you have any footage, please look through it. Please submit anything to police. Or if you have any information, please say something. Let's take a good look at Harley once again. He's described as 6'3", weighing 160 pounds, and has long blonde hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a black-gray hoodie, pants, and a black Prime 102 baseball cap from his work, as well as black non-slip work shoes. His mother Wendy saying, and I quote, "Somebody has to know something. Somebody had to have seen something. He could not have just disappeared." End quote. So let's talk about whatever kind of possibilities we may have here, which honestly, this is one of these cases where I don't really have much to say, sadly, because there isn't really that much information. It does seem like he left work wearing his full, work uniform still. He had his non-slip shoes still on. He had his work hat on, and he went out to have some drinks with his friends, and he went to that sports bar that was just a couple buildings down. So it does make me wonder why then they decided to drive across the city to go to this sketchy club lounge place that no one really has much information on. Is it a bar? Is it a lounge? I've seen people talk about maybe if it's even like a strip club of some sort, if there's something seedier going on there. Again, they're all adults. Harley was nearly 30 years old. He can make the decision if he wants to go to a place like that. It's not like he's underage or he's a teenager or something that was sneaking into somewhere like this. He's a full adult. If he wanted to go to some seedy bar lounge, he has the right to. But I just find it interesting that they went to the sports bar that was right near work, and then for whatever reason, they decided to drive across town to go to this bar lounge place that Harley had never been to before. I wonder if the friends had been here before. I also wonder why they went so far away from their start destination. Why this specific place did they want to go to? Since this was a more so college area, it seems, since it was right by the Texas college, it makes me wonder if possibly they were going there because it was like a college student hangout, and so they wanted to maybe go and find some girls or something, have drinks there, see if they could mingle. It also makes me wonder if he drove to this bar lounge with the friends, why didn't they drive back somewhere? Again, especially since this seemed to be an area that Harley didn't know, he wasn't familiar with, he'd never been to this place before, he didn't have his phone on him. So for him to go across the city to this area he's not familiar with no phone, no ride, it really just makes me wonder, what were the dynamics here? Why was something like that allowed to happen? On top of that, if they were all drinking, why were these friends driving? That's another question I have. Again, we don't know for sure if this friend that was driving was drinking, but how intoxicated were they all? Did something happen in the club that Harley didn't want to go back with his friends? Was there some argument that happened? Again, it seems like this friend was interviewed. Police have pretty much cleared him, it seems like, for the most part, and he's said to be like a good friend or a good guy or whatever. So it seems like he's not involved. And you'd think if there was some kind of fight or argument that had happened that night, police would have said something or it would have come out by now by the family. Then it leads me to wonder, did Harley not go with his friends because maybe he was going to go off with a girl? And I mean, I don't personally know Harley, but we do know people cheat. It does happen. I'm not saying Harley's a cheater, but it just leads me to wonder, since we don't have literally any information of what was going on here, did they go up to this area because it is a college area? They wanted to meet some girls. Did Harley maybe run into a girl there or meet someone? He was maybe going to go to her place after. But then if that was a possibility, why didn't that person leave the bar with him? Because it's not like he had his phone so that person could give him an address or a location to go to. And it's said that he didn't know this area. So it's not like they could just be like, oh yeah, go over there to my house. So you'd think if he was going to be, going to meet up with someone, they would have been with him. But that wasn't captured in any of the surveillance footage. And from what the family said, it seems like he ran into some people trying to ask for directions home. So it doesn't seem like he was trying to get somewhere else. It looks like he was trying to get home. But then it's like he left this bar with no phone, doesn't know the area. He seems to live pretty far away from this lounge bar place. So how was he expected to get home? A lot of people are comparing this case to the Caleb Harris case. However, this case reminds me a lot more of the Riley Strain case, because it has the same kind of dynamics. Both Harley and Riley were out drinking at bars that night and left on their own to walk home. However, it seems like Both of them ended up getting lost, walking the wrong directions, and disappeared. Now, the difference is in the Riley Strain case, there was a huge rushing river, body of water nearby where he disappeared. Whereas with Harley's case, there's no water in the area, as you can see from this map. There are some small ponds that are farther away, but he would have had to walk very far to get to them. So to me, that doesn't give a most likely scenario that he stumbled into a body of water and drowned. The closest kind of dangerous thing to this bar lounge is actually a railroad track. And if he was walking north like he was on the footage and continued walking north towards the college, he would have had to cross this railroad track. So could something have happened? Could he have wandered farther down the railroad track possibly and gotten hit by the train or something? If something like that happened, you'd think police would have found something. It would have been reported. So then, that pathway of thought also gets written away. So it really just leaves us with nothing, because it seems like he was trying to get home. So it makes me really wonder what the possibilities could be. Clearly, in my opinion, Harley was met by some kind of foul play. There's no way nearly 3 months later now that he wasn't just found if he had, was a little drunk, stumbled off, and got lost. He would have been found, in my opinion. Something clearly happened to him. Maybe we could speculate that he did meet someone at the club and they told him, meet me over by the college or something. Maybe that's possible. But again, there's apparently these alleged sightings of him asking to try to find a way home. Could he have asked the wrong person? Could he have gotten into someone's vehicle because they offered to give him a ride? I think that's possible. I also would really like to know what area of town he lived in. Was he walking towards home if he was going north, or was he going in the completely wrong direction? Again, if he was that drunk and didn't have his phone for directions, I could see him walking the wrong way completely. Nothing really does make sense in this case, because we don't really have much information other than thinking he was trying to get home. There's no idea why he was walking north, why he went that way, where was he going, how far did he go. It really is as if he vanished. All we really have is that he left the bar, most likely intoxicated with no phone. He was in an area he was unfamiliar to, and he was heading towards an unknown location. Most likely home, but at this point an unknown location. But what I really want to know is what you all think. Do you have any leads or ideas or theories of what may have happened to Harley? Do you have any information that I didn't include in this video that could lead us to maybe figuring out what happened to Harley? Let's have a big chat down below. And my heart goes out to family and friends. I truly hope that they can get answers. I truly hope that they can get justice if something, sinister happened to Harley. And what I really am asking from all of you is to share his missing persons flyer. I'll have it linked down below. There's a link for it. Share this video out. Share any information on Harley out that you can, because his case is not getting that much coverage. And unfortunately, it's just one of these cases, I think, because there's not that much information in it, that's just not blowing up enough. And we see this happen with all of these small cases that I cover. Especially when there's not that much information, they don't really get put out there that much. But his case is just as mysterious as some of the other cases that are blowing up right now and getting talked about more. And so hopefully, if we continue to talk about it, his case will also hopefully get more coverage, because as his mother Wendy said, someone out there has to know something. There's just a puzzle piece missing, and someone out there has that puzzle piece that could lead to more answers, that could lead to Harley being found. And sharing his face, sharing his story, sharing what happened to him could lead to answers. So if you have any information on Harley's disappearance or any tips, I'll have that information linked down below. Please contact the Tyler Police Department. If you know something, please say something. And as always, I hope you stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.